It happened quietly, almost too perfectly to be a coincidence. On a warm Roman evening, just as the sun dipped behind the terracotta rooftops, fans spotted Can Yaman walking out of a private restaurant in Trastevere, not alone. Next to him was Sara Bluma. At first, no one noticed. A few curious eyes, a couple of phones raised casually, but when the images began circulating online, chaos erupted. "They're together again?" one fan commented. "Didn't they part ways months ago?" another asked. Within hours, hashtags like #CanYamanInRome and #SaraBluma were trending. Photos showed them walking side by side, not touching, not smiling, but unmistakably together, as if two people caught between a memory and a secret they can't quite bury. But that wasn't the only sighting. 2 days later, they were seen again, this time leaving a film studio on the outskirts of the city. Different outfits, different time, same silence. Neither of them posted anything about it. No tags, no captions, no acknowledgement. It was as if both were daring the public to draw its own conclusions. And of course, they did. Fans began dissecting every detail: Sara's sunglasses, Can's expression, even the distance between them in the photos. Some argued it was purely professional, maybe a new project, a collaboration, something work-related. But others saw something deeper. Because just days before the first sighting, Can had shared a cryptic story on Instagram. A dark photo of Rome's skyline with the caption, "Some things come back when you least expect them." No one thought much of it at the time. Until now. The theory threads exploded. "He's talking about her," one fan wrote. "He said something like this right before they were seen together last year." Others pointed out how Sara had also gone silent on social media that same week, deleting several old posts and untagging photos connected to past controversies. Was this a coincidence? Or were they preparing for something? According to insiders in Rome, the two had recently been in talks for a campaign connected to an Italian luxury brand. But there was one detail that kept everyone guessing: if it was just business, why the secrecy? Why the late-night dinners, the private meetings, the hidden schedules? People who know can say he's become more private than ever, especially after the emotional roller coaster of recent years. The relationships, the rumors, the constant spotlight. "He doesn't like public scenes anymore," a close acquaintance revealed. "If he's with someone, or even talking to someone from his past, it's usually behind closed doors." And that's exactly what made these new photos so explosive. Because for months, both had avoided any public connection. The timing, the location, the tension in their body language, everything about these two appearances screamed that something was happening. And yet, neither confirmed nor denied anything. Reporters tried reaching out to Sara's team, who issued a short statement: "No comment." Can's manager did the same: "Private matters are not for the public." But silence only fuels curiosity. By the next morning, tabloids across Italy were running with bold headlines: "Together again? Secret meetings in Rome? 2 appearances, 1 question." And that question, whispered by every fan, shouted by every journalist, echoed louder than ever. What's really going on between Can Yaman and Sara Bluma? By the third day, the whispers in Rome had turned into a storm. Everyone wanted answers, but none came. Can Yaman's team had gone completely silent, and Sara Bluma's camp had only released one cold, formal statement: "We don't comment on private outings." But insiders were already talking. A close source, someone who had worked with Can on his latest project, told one Italian magazine that the meeting wasn't accidental at all. "They've been in touch for weeks," the source claimed. "There's something between them, but it's not what people think. It's complicated." That one word, complicated, was enough to send the gossip cycle into overdrive. According to multiple reports, Can and Sara had initially broken contact months ago after a disagreement linked to a campaign they were both part of. But now, sources said the same brand wanted them together again, this time for a global shoot. "They're professionals," another insider added. "If the company wants them both, they'll work together." But whether that's all there is, nobody really knows. Meanwhile, fans weren't convinced it was just business. They pointed out small details that seemed impossible to ignore. The way Sara looked at Can in the photos, slightly turned toward him, but not smiling. The way Can walked ahead, protective, yet distant. It wasn't just a casual dinner or a work meeting. It looked like two people with a long, messy history, now forced to share the same space again. And then came the bombshell. An Italian entertainment page reported that Sara had been seen visiting Can's apartment complex late at night, just 2 days before the first sighting. The article included grainy photos of a dark car near the building and a silhouette that looked like hers. It wasn't confirmed, but that didn't matter, the damage was done. Suddenly, the story wasn't just about two celebrities seen in Rome. It was about something deeper, unfinished business, unspoken tension, and perhaps, a reunion no one expected. Sara, on the other hand, chose silence. She didn't deny the rumors, but she didn't feed them either. Her social media remained carefully curated, only brand collaborations, neutral posts, and quotes about moving forward. But fans noticed she had liked a few old photos of Can from months ago. Small details that meant everything in the gossip world. And what about Can? He seemed restless. That same week, he was photographed leaving his gym looking more serious than usual. No smiles, no small talk, no fans. One photographer described it best: he looked like someone trying to stay calm while the whole world watches his every move. Behind the scenes, his friends said he was frustrated. Not with Sara, not even with the rumors, but with how easily his private life overshadowed his work. He had a new series coming up, international offers on the table, and yet, every headline was about one thing: Sara. Still, there was something in his eyes whenever her name was mentioned, a spark that didn't look like anger. It looked like memory. By the end of that week, the story had evolved. No one was talking about coincidences anymore. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. If Can and Sara weren't back together, why did they keep finding each other in the same city, at the same time, again and again? The headlines were getting louder. What started as whispers about Can and Sara suddenly took a sharp turn, one that no one saw coming. Out of nowhere, a Turkish entertainment page published an article titled, "Demet Özdemir reacts to Can's new appearances in Rome." The problem? Demet hadn't said a single word. The so-called reaction was nothing more than a vague Instagram story, a quote she had reposted days earlier: "Peace is not pretending nothing happened. It's accepting it and choosing silence." But that one sentence was enough for the tabloids to twist the story. Within hours, countless posts and YouTube videos were claiming that Demet had thrown shade at Can and Sara. Screenshots flooded social media, split images of Demet's post next to paparazzi photos from Rome. And just like that, the love triangle that had been buried months ago was suddenly back on every headline. Can's phone didn't stop buzzing. His PR team advised him to ignore it, but he couldn't. "Why do they always drag her into everything?" he muttered, scrolling through the headlines. He had worked so hard to keep Demet out of this, to keep her name from being pulled into his chaos again. People close to him said he was furious. Not at Demet, but at how easily the media exploited her silence. "He knows she's been through enough," one friend said. "He told us, if they want to talk about me, fine. But leave her out of it." But things only got worse. A viral tweet claimed that Sara had liked one of the posts referencing Demet's quote, a move that fans took as a direct jab. Even though it was later discovered to be fake, the damage was done. The narrative had shifted completely, now it was Sara versus Demet all over again. Entertainment reporters began calling it the Rome Triangle. Sara's silence, Demet's quote, Can's absence, everything became a stage for speculation. And through it all, Can said nothing. But his silence wasn't weakness. It was building into something. Late one night, he finally posted something on his story, a black background with 5 simple words: "You can twist silence too." Fans went wild. Some thought it was about Sara. Others believed it was his way of protecting Demet without mentioning her name. Either way, the message hit hard. By morning, it had been shared over 1 million times. Sara remained offline. Demet continued filming her new project, refusing to feed the gossip. But the connection between all three of them had once again become the internet's obsession. One Italian journalist summed it up perfectly: they've turned into a symbol, three people trapped in a story they never fully told. Behind the cameras, however, the truth was much more personal. A friend of Can's revealed that after his cryptic post, he made one phone call that night, to a mutual acquaintance who worked with Demet. "Tell her she doesn't need to respond." I know what she meant. He didn't need a reply. He just wanted her to know that he understood. Because deep down, he knew what the world refused to see. That even years later, every headline, every rumor, every silent reaction between them still carried something that felt unfinished. By now, the situation had gone too far. What started as a rumor had turned into a war, not between Can and Sara, or even between Can and Demet, but between truth and speculation. The media had made up its own story, and no one seemed able to stop it. Sara, who had remained silent for days, finally broke. On a late Thursday night, she posted a long message on her Instagram story, white text over a black background: "I'm tired of being blamed for things I never said or did. Sometimes people project their guilt on others to feel innocent. I won't be the target anymore." The timing couldn't have been worse. Just hours before, Italian paparazzi had published a short clip showing Can walking alone through Rome's historic center, clearly irritated, surrounded by cameras shouting Demet's name. In the video, he muttered under his breath, "Enough." Fans connected the dots immediately: Sara's post, Can's anger, the Demet headlines. Within minutes, social media exploded again. "He's done with her. Sara is attacking Demet. Can finally loses control." And yet, the truth was far more complicated. Those close to Can said he hadn't even seen Sara's post when the video was filmed. In reality, he had been reacting to reporters who ambushed him, asking if he was jealous of Demet's success. The pressure had simply boiled over. "He's been patient for months," a crew member from his new project revealed. "He's trying to focus on his work, but every question, every interview, somehow turns back to the same names." He just snapped. Sara, meanwhile, didn't clarify her statement. She didn't name anyone. She didn't apologize. She simply deleted the story the next morning and went offline again. But the damage was irreversible. Italian and Turkish tabloids had their perfect headline: "Can and Sara, war of words." Demet pulled into chaos once again. It was exactly what Can feared the most. The next day, he cancelled a scheduled interview, the only public event he had agreed to in weeks. His team released a short statement: "Mr. Yaman is taking a few days of rest. Please respect his privacy." But sources knew the truth. Can wasn't resting, he was retreating. He had isolated himself in his Roman apartment, refusing calls from journalists, sponsors, even some close friends. "He's tired," one confidant admitted. "He told me, I can handle lies about me, but not about her. Not again." For fans who had followed his story from the beginning, those words cut deep. Everyone knew her didn't mean Sara. It meant Demet. Meanwhile, Demet kept her composure, never reacting, never responding. But her silence was speaking louder than any statement. Paparazzi photos showed her smiling on set, greeting fans, keeping her head high, as if refusing to let the noise win. And maybe that's what affected Can the most. Because as the days passed, his anger slowly turned into guilt. Late one night, a photo leaked, a blurry shot of Can sitting alone at a cafe terrace, staring into space, his phone on the table, untouched coffee in front of him. The caption from the bystander read, "He looked lost." That image went viral too, but this time, not because of gossip. It reminded people that behind the fame, behind the drama, there was still a human being trying to make peace with a past that refused to leave him alone. And somewhere in that silence, between the posts and the headlines, something in Can began to shift. He didn't want revenge. He didn't want to explain. He just wanted peace, the kind of peace he once saw reflected in Demet's eyes. Days turned into weeks, and the noise slowly began to fade. Sara had vanished from the public eye, her Instagram wiped clean. The press moved on to the next scandal, but something in Can had changed forever. He was seen leaving Rome early one morning, no entourage, no security, just him and a single suitcase. The paparazzi, used to chasing him for drama, were shocked by his calmness. "Where are you going, Can?" one of them shouted. He paused for a second, then simply said, "Somewhere quieter." No one knew exactly where he went, but insiders whispered it wasn't for a project. It was personal. In truth, Can had rented a small house outside Naples, near the coast, far from the noise, far from everything. Friends said he wanted to disconnect completely. No interviews, no cameras, no brand meetings. Just silence, the sea, and his thoughts. He spent his days writing. Not scripts, not stories, just thoughts. Some of them were never meant to be shared. A friend who later visited him said, he wrote pages about closure, forgiveness, and letting go. But there was one name that appeared in every notebook, Demet. Despite everything, he never wrote her full name. Just a single initial, D. It was enough. Meanwhile, back in Istanbul, Demet had just finished filming her latest series. During a quiet press day, a journalist asked her if she had followed the recent chaos in Rome. Her answer was calm, almost rehearsed, but her eyes said more than her words. "I think people see too much where there's nothing," she said. Then she added softly, "Sometimes peace means walking away from noise, even when you care." That single line hit the internet like lightning. Fans flooded social media with clips of her saying it, pairing it with photos of Can at the airport. Once again, their names were side by side on every trending list, but this time, it wasn't because of scandal. It was because of something deeper. It felt like closure. Or maybe, like two souls finally exhaling after holding their breath for too long. Sara, on the other hand, reportedly left Rome too. Her management confirmed she had moved abroad to focus on herself. No more cryptic posts, no more headlines. Just silence. And that silence, ironically, was the ending Can had been hoping for all along. Weeks later, an Italian photographer spotted him again. This time walking along the Amalfi Coast, headphones on, smiling faintly at the sea. The photo went viral, but not because of drama. People shared it with captions like, "He finally looks free," and "Sometimes leaving is healing." Yet the most powerful moment came quietly. One evening, a fan account noticed something small. Can had liked a post from a Turkish fan page. It wasn't about Sara. It wasn't even about him. It was an old photo from the Erkenci cassette, with the caption, "Some stories never fade, they just stop hurting." That single like brought the internet back to tears. Because it wasn't just nostalgia, it was acknowledgement. A subtle way of saying "I remember," without reopening the wound. And somewhere in Istanbul, Demet saw it too. She didn't respond. She didn't post anything. But 2 days later, she shared a photo of the sea at sunset, no caption, just a small white heart emoji. For those who understood, it was enough. Because sometimes closure doesn't need words. Sometimes love doesn't need confirmation. And sometimes, two people simply choose peace over noise, silence over chaos, and memory over regret. As the world moved on, fans were left with one undeniable truth: Can and Demet's connection was never about headlines. It was about something that fame couldn't control, a bond that refused to die, even when both tried to bury it. And maybe, that's why their story still feels unfinished. Because somewhere, beneath all the rumors and the distance, two hearts once beat in rhythm, and part of them still does. The lights may have faded, the cameras turned away, but their silence still speaks louder than any confession ever could.